Hey guys, welcome to this Euro 2020 report. And do you know what the shock of today was? It wasn't so much the Czechs upsetting the Dutch because, hey, that's just Holland being Holland. It was actually the way Belgium played, and it was the way that the Belgium-Portugal match was actually not that great, and that Belgium actually won playing boring or certainly not to their best. But even more of a shock has to be the fact then, and I'll whisper this, Roberto Martinez got his tactics spot on. It was a tactical masterclass by Roberto Martinez. I never thought I'd be saying those words, but it really was. I mean, Everton fans would be hunting me down just for even suggesting that, but it's true, and I'm going to tell you why in this video. The other thing that it's fair to say is that I think what influenced Belgium's tactics and their thinking going in today's game is that Holland played before them, and they saw what happened to Holland and the way they came unstuck, and they decided, you know what, we can't really out Holland. It's a Holland speciality really to play with a lot of flash, a lot of style, but ultimately be a bit too soft-centered and a bit too have our sort of wobbles at the back and, basically fall out on the pitch is sort of the Dutch way. And we can't match that. So you know what? We're going to do something a little bit different, at least for today. At least we can enjoy this day. So I think the Dutch actually, slipping up was actually the catalyst for the Belgium win, or for their approach to the game against Portugal anyway. And I think also it's probably fair to say Portugal are a bit overrated as a team. They were they were very lucky to win the Euros 5 years ago now. Obviously, a lot of it was down to a sound defence. And I mean, fair play to them. They got their tactics spot on in winning the tournament. But when you see the way they stumbled out of that group that year, I mean, 3 draws, come on. It was a very lucky, and really, I think it was a tactical win against France in the final, and a lot of luck. And it's sort of the irony, really, that they ended up winning despite of Ronaldo rather than because of him. I know he'll want you to believe something else, but they actually won that final because he wasn't on the pitch, because that forced them into a tactical change. They're probably a better team 5 years onwards, actually, Portugal. I think that's fair to say. And they're a well-managed team. They're a well-organised team with a good shape. And obviously Mr. Ronaldo up top. And some good younger players as well. I think potentially in future years this could be a real team. A little bit aging at the back, but a pretty talented squad overall. So they're probably better in many ways than the team that won the Euros. But in any case, just on to the match and how Belgium sort of outfoxed them, is that they basically knew that Portugal are sort of best at playing a counter-attacking side and a counter-attacking game, and that they've got plenty of pace on the counter-attack. And I think, so what happened is, rather than play their natural attacking game and their pressing game, Belgium actually sat back and invited Portugal onto them, and then did to Portugal what Portugal like to do to other teams, and that's hit them on the counter. And obviously they were confident that they had the players to sort of get a goal if they could stick in the game and scrap it out, and they basically outfoxed Portugal in that regard. It was actually a stroke of genius because part of their thinking was that they've got three big centre backs, and Ronaldo is like the sole striker of Portugal, and he, as great as he still is, doesn't quite have the pace that he once had, and obviously it's tough playing up top on your own anyway. And so what Belgium decided to do was stick three big centre halves against him, which made his life all the more tricky. And they got it spot on because also the thing about Belgium is that if they do play their natural attacking game, then they are vulnerable to teams on the counter, like a quality team or a team with good pace. And I think they're sort of fine if they're playing like a not too great team like a minnow or a mediocre side, and I think that their natural quality just is too much for them. But I mean, if it is someone with a bit about them like Portugal or someone with a game plan, and Belgium just went at them from the get go and was like too attacking, I think that could have backfired. And so they got their tactics spot on, and it was a pretty mediocre game overall. It was a very good winning goal from Belgium from the other Hazard brother. Very good strike and a great time to score it. I mean, it took a swerve. The keeper should have done a bit better, I think. I still think he should have got to it, but it was a good goal and a good timing, and it probably did change the game, that old cliche, because Belgium were better in the second half, but it wasn't a great game, and Belgium weren't at their best, but they got the tactics spot on, and because of that, I think they would deserved winners. Obviously, Portugal will feel they're unlucky to go out, but again, I still think they're a little bit overrated as a team. That in the group stages, there were games when they did struggle, like the 3-0 against Hungary definitely flattered them. But in any case, there you have the result, and it sets up a very intriguing quarter-final tie: Belgium against Italy, and it'll be interesting to see the tactics in that game, particularly from the Italians, because of course it's a more attacking Italian side that we're used to. But will they do that against a side as good as Belgium with as many good attacking players as they have? I mean, Italy are well set up for the counter attack, so could they try that? I think out of the two, Italy are the better defensive team, but if it's not their natural game to defend, it could be very interesting if the two just sort of go for it. But it's definitely the biggest test so far for the two. Belgium have more experience, more big tournament experience than the Italians, so that could be a test for Italy. And I think we saw that a bit yesterday in the match with Austria, where Italy were struggling to break them down and obviously needed extra time and eventually won 2-0. But they did make heavy weather of it against the Austrians, who I think are an underrated side and did push Italy to the limit, did well. But it's the first sign that maybe this Italian side are a bit overrated, but they got the job done. Credit to Mancini actually, because his substitutions did pay off in the end. And I mean, speaking of underrated sides, as I was saying with Austria, I would say definitely the Czechs are an underrated side. They impressed me a fair bit in the group stage. They've got one of the best strikers in the tournament, and they're just a very solid side. Pretty good on the ball, pretty solid at the back. Obviously, very good striker. And they're the sort of side who can surprise people, and obviously we saw that today with the Holland win 2-0, very convincing win. Obviously, again, a big decision changed the game with the Dutch player being sent off. And at that point, it was 0-0. So I think that's the one thing Holland can point to. But yeah, very good win for the Czechs, and they're into the quarter final. And if you'd given them that before the tournament, they would have bitten your hand off. A really good day for them. And I do think they're underrated. I'm not sure if they can go much further, but a good day for the Czech Republic. So that's my Euro 2020 thoughts for the day. If you have any thoughts, if you disagree with me over anything, then please let me know. But I'll be back soon with more Euro 2020 ramblings. Thanks, guys. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. P.S. Ronaldo's dive and him going down clutching his face like he'd been smacked one by a heavyweight boxer was a disgrace, and shame on ITV for not calling him out. I guess they just like to cozy up to him. Speaking of which, Sam Twatterface is still the worst commentator in the world. I guess more on him later in the tournament. God, I hope England don't have any more matches on ITV this year. Thanks, that's it, I'm out.